So again, thank you first of all for having me today. It's the second time I've been able to speak in probably the last year and a half. With all of us, we know most of the world shut down with COVID, including nonprofits, which kind of really hurt our fundraising efforts to come speak to folks like you. So again, my name is Michelle LeBlanc. I'm the Executive Director and Head Canine Trainer for Vermont Paws Boots Service Dog Training Program. This is a program that I actually started over 6 years ago while I was still a state trooper. And I'll be really quick about some of the things that led up to this. Is I was a police canine handler for the state police for over 11 years, and right now I believe I'm still currently the longest serving canine handler and the only one who's nationally recognized in a Hall of Fame in the state of Georgia. So we had a very successful career. I really say I just held the end of the leash and he did what he had to do. But it was just a little bit more than that. He never did the paperwork. I tried. So with that, we would do functions just like this, and we were trying to educate. When I was in the military, our working dogs had one purpose. They came out of a car, cruiser, we didn't call them cruisers in the military, but they came out of a police vehicle, bit a bad guy, which was usually a drunk soldier, and went back in the car, okay? Even probably when most of you were young, that was the same image that you saw a police dog. Big, bad, burly, foaming at the mouth German Shepherds that just wanted to eat everybody. Well, I'm happy to say that our world has evolved. We do all positive reinforcement training. All our dogs live with us in our family. And we have to try to re-educate the world to say, these dogs are part of our family. They can sit here and cuddle with you and kiss you. And when I send them on a command, they go get bad guy, find drugs, find a missing person, and then they're right back to being your best friend. So when I did that, I actually spoke at a Rotary Club in Essex, and it was in 2014 when the big push for 22 veterans a day to commit suicide was really hitting the State House. With that, I was asked, because they knew not only was I a veteran, but I was also a good canine handler, could I start a program here in Vermont because we did not have one? My response, unfortunately, was I would love to, but I'm a little busy. Most canine handlers in the state of Vermont have 15 to 20 calls a year. I pulled almost 150 to 200 calls a year because we were so successful. But on the downside of that, in November of 2015 or October 2015, my police canine was injured on an armed robbery track, and he was forced to medically retire. So I said, I have all this extra time on my hands. Let's start this program. So being, growing up in a military family, I'm not speaking loud enough. Growing up in a military family and also, going to a military school. I went to Norwich University, going in the military, things were very rigid. So I wanted to make sure everything has to be in place. I wanted this program to start with a very solid foundation. Everyone knows if you build a house and you forget the bolts in the foundation, the thing eventually is going to fall. So right away, I started getting our 501c nonprofit status, which through the IRS, believe it or not, took almost 2 years. We also got insurance for the program. Although we haven't had to tap into that, I'm not naive working with dogs that eventually somebody's going to have an accident on a rug or, scratch something that probably was valuable at training. So we got all these things in place right from the get-go. I had vets in place, veterinary offices. So we really started from the ground up in 2015. We also have a board of directors. I also have one of my graduates that sits on my board of directors. I felt it was really important to have somebody who actually went through the program, understands the demands of the program, to actually start governing what we do. In 2016, we were able to complete my first class, and you'll notice a year difference. My program is not a 21-day program like most of the ones out there where they give you a pre-trained dog, you show up at the facility, they teach you the dog's name and how to sit and stay, a couple of commands, and they say bye-bye. My students come in, they have an application process. They have to have counselor notes. They have to have permission from their doctors if there's any physical injuries. So it's a pretty extensive application process to get in, and then they're with me for approximately a year. I've had 2 classes that have graduated within 9 months, but for the most part, you're talking 9 months to a year. Probably close to 450 hours of training. It's so it's pretty intense. To date, actually July 29th, I just graduated my 6th class, so we now have 23 successful teams out there. And one of the things that I pride myself on is the quality of the teams that I'm producing is more important than the quantity. I'm not going to ever have a conveyor belt where we're just going to send people through every 21 days, because we are actually changing lives and we are saving lives, and that doesn't happen in 21 days. So there's a few things that I'm trying to explain to folks like you of what we do. When I first started this program, I was the only one also assisting first responders. So veterans, most people understand. The wars in Afghanistan was a big one where PTSD really came to the forefront. And just about everybody, unless you're a little kid, has heard that term or actually knows somebody, unfortunately, that suffers from it. But I also assist military sexual trauma, traumatic brain injuries, and people with amputations or physical disabilities. So with that, being a first responder for over 21 plus years, and probably 36 in some type of uniform, I also understand that the trauma that we face on a daily basis, sustained for 30-something years, really starts to affect us too. And nobody was helping the first responders. And a few years ago, I actually was tracking the suicide rate from first responders to veterans, and sadly we were leading. Why is that? Because when you get out of the military, not everyone has access to some type of weapon, mostly, firearms. What does law enforcement have? Access to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Our rate was plummeting, coupled with the fact that the majority of the world does not like us at this point, and the pressure of everybody watching us and Monday morning quarterbacking us when they weren't on the scene. So I said, we need to start helping our own. So I opened it up to first responders. There are a few out there now that are helping with that. One of the other things I pride myself on is it's zero cost to the veterans. The first 2 years I ran the program, I actually paid for it out of my own pocket. That's the dogs transport here. We use rescue dogs for the most part. I have probably 4 or 5 dogs that were privately owned, which means the handler actually owned the dog ahead of time. But the majority of them are all rescue dogs coming in. These dogs have been living on the street. Some of them are not fixed. Most of them have severe mental issues themselves that we have to try to correct, and some physical injuries that we have to deal with. I can't burden somebody who already has difficulties with paying for this, so we pay for everything. I already mentioned approximately 450 hours of training, and the other unique part about my program is I want the whole family and support system to be involved. And when I say a support system, everybody knows about family. Husbands, wives, kids, nieces, nephews, but your support system can be your neighbor, it can be your coworker, it can be, your friends you meet in your counseling sessions. Anyone that's around your circle on a daily basis can be your support system, because I'm sure most of you probably have some type of animal or at some point had an animal in your life, and we all know they don't always do what we want them to do. So when they eat our favorite item in the house, they jump up on us as we're getting ready to go to a wedding, or they have an accident in the house because we were gone too long. It really is frustrating. And for someone who suffers from especially PTSD and traumatic brain injuries, that can set them off in a second. I need to make sure we have our support system. And that's so important, because I will tell you that even though here in Vermont, and we're a small organization, we have had one suicide in my program. And that was within 2 months of the program. And we didn't have this big built support system my first year. My 911 phone chain broke, and nobody was at the other end of the VA office, and nobody was at the other end of the counselor's office. I couldn't get a hold of his daughter, and 3 days later we found him in the woods. So it's so important to have these people that if they don't show up to training or they haven't checked in on a phone call, I have somebody else that I can talk to say, hey, you need to go check on, lack of other terms, Bill. Where is he? Have you seen him? So the support system is huge. We talked about the application process. You have to be a veteran in good standing, okay? First responder. Personally screen the pets. Again, I do all that. ADA laws are very strict. Part of my program in the 450 hours, they actually have to know the ADA laws, which are changing consistently. For those who may not know, there's also an Air Carrier Act. So when you're on an airplane, totally different rules, okay? And I don't mind that, because when I'm way up in the air, I want them to do what they need to do so we get back down safely. So private organizations, even like this, the country club is a private organization. I just can't walk in here with my service dog. I have to ask permission to come in. So they have to know all these laws. When I screen the dog, they can't have any bite history. They have to be social. Every dog is gonna bark, okay? We get that. Every horse is gonna say nay, okay? It's just a fact of life. But our dogs have to be stable enough that they could sit in here, and I would have had my dog here today, but Grandma decided she wanted her instead, and I have to keep borrowing her from my mom. So, you know, she has to be able to sit here and just lay, whether it's an hour, 3 hours. You go to a conference, you go to on vacation, they have the dog, or some of my students are actually in school, they have to be able to sit there and be calm. And not every dog is getting into my program. I've had people that have had their own pets that said, I really want this dog to be in my program. If they have a physical disability and they need a lift assist dog, say I have, you know, a 40 to 50 pound shepherd mix, but my student happens to be, you know, 280, 300 pounds. I can't accept that dog into the program because they can't push off of that dog successfully for a long period of time. Life or death? Absolutely. The dog will do what it needs to do. But we want these dogs to last anywhere. An average police dog is 5 to 7 years on the road. Again, my dog lasted 11. It probably would have still kept going if his disc didn't give out. But, you know, these service dogs, I'm trying to keep them 10 to 12 years. Most large breed dogs, and we have mostly large breed dogs, have an average of 14-year life. So we want them to have good retirements, but we also want them to have the most working time with their handler. So I have rejected some dogs. They have to go to a board, they have to have an interview. We get to know the person, we get to know, you know, how they react and let them understand how strict this program is. Again, it's a year long. Usually we're here training 2 days a week, full days. This class, most of my students, I had 4 students, all but one stayed overnight at local hotels. That's a cost that they had to incur. I could not afford that this year because we just didn't have the money in COVID. They were willing to pay $109 at the Hampton, the one by Home Depot, because it meant that much. I do home visits. A lot of people like, why do you need to do a home visit? You'd be amazed when you walk into a home and you've got a rescue dog off the street and how dangerous your house can be at any given moment. Again, go back to someone who has a lot of medications because of what they've sustained and what the VA gives them to help make them better. I go into houses and they're usually coffee tables that are usually even lower than this, might have 20 bottles of meds on them. I can't have that when I've got a dog that I just took off the street in their house. So we help them get their houses ready. Then they also sign contracts, you know, that they're going to stay in this program. Remember where I said that it's free to the veterans? They sign a contract that at any time for the life of this dog, I can walk into their house, make sure they're taking care of their dog, make sure they're okay. If not, I can take that dog back, okay? That's a pretty severe penalty, which luckily I've never had to use because these guys and girls understand what this dog has done and how it's changed their lives. But we put it in there because in the military and as a first responder, we're trained to always seek for a goal and to achieve things greater than what we just had. Having this dog, which is a tool on your side and a tool in your tool belt, is another goal that they want to achieve. And if they know in the back of their head, if they don't show up to training and they don't have a medical excuse and they don't call me ahead of time, I can take that dog away from them. They come to training. I'm pretty tough, you know, but it's working. Life is not easy. When the things that, you know, my students are suffering with is not going away. You know, and that's the other thing. A lot of people think you can be fine today and just go away. You know, these invisible wounds, you don't know when they're going to pop up. You could be driving down the street and all of a sudden a memory is going to pop up and your whole day derails. It doesn't end because you had a good counseling session. It is with you for life. So that's why my contract says that. Some of the things, I don't know how to change this, but so you can say it, but some of the basic care, anyone that has a pet knows if it's healthy, you're probably averaging $1,000, okay? I've been pretty lucky. Most of my dogs have come healthy. You know, we've had 2 that have developed heartworm, which is, you know, a couple $100 in itself and a very long treatment, but they both successfully completed it. Transport costs could be up to $1,500 to get them. Typically, they come from Kentucky, Georgia, and Texas. And training costs. I don't charge anybody a penny for my time. Had I, most of my coworkers that have gotten out of law enforcement and were dog trainers, their average cost is $150 to $200 an hour. If I added that up, if you Google on the internet, most service dogs are anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000. And I will tell you, there's a lot of companies out there that are producing fake service dogs. I hate to use that word fake, politically correct, oh my God. But, you know, they're not doing the job that they're intended to do. These people are getting life-saving tools, i.e. a dog, for diabetic alert, seizure alerts, mobility assist, and when the dog gets to them, the dog doesn't know anything. So, but people are paying these kind of prices. So again, I don't know why that doesn't show on the full screen. But the other big powerful thing that we're seeing with this program, and again, we've been doing this for over 6 years, is when I incorporate the family into the training, they're welcome to come to training. I have kids come to training. I have little kids, 4 or 5 years old, to adult children. They're not really children, they're adults, but that have come to help their fathers and mothers through this training. And they understand, they learn the same commands, they learn the same techniques. And if, my cases have been the fathers and the sons, but if they're having an off day, if their back is really hurting, they can sit and their support system takes over for training for the day. So that's huge. And for the veteran, they know that they can count on somebody. If they have a cold, if they are sore one day, somebody's going to take care of that life support for them. Regular check-ins, I talked about that, home support, and they're with me for life. Just because my program may hypothetically end and they have a huge graduation, one of which Mary was able to attend this last one, this is for life, because the other unique thing that Vermont Paws Boots does is I make them come back. They're not required to, the ADA does not require them to come to a program like mine, but they come knowing they're going to have a success rate. And with that, I make them come back every year and they do a retest. They also have to retest ADA laws and make sure they're staying up to date, because again, if they make a mistake, it's on them. So, and I need to make sure that they're healthy. I would be doing due diligence if I didn't make sure that my teams were still doing good, whether they needed to still go to their counselors, whether they're gainfully employed, whether their family life is doing okay, and if their dog, hypothetically, is getting older. Is the dog getting tired? Is it not able to do the tasks it needs to do? Follow up on that is from day one, I start planting little seeds in their head that at some point this dog will retire. I will tell you as a canine handler, that will be the worst day of their life, okay? The dogs are with us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They spend more time with us than our family. Doesn't matter whether it's our police dog or it's a service dog. And I have to mentally prepare them for that, because these people that already have emotional issues are going to crash on me, okay? So I have been able, knock on wood, successfully get all my students through this. I have 3 dogs now that have retired, and my students are staying strong, because the other thing we do is they know that I'm here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because I started up in Burlington, the majority of my clients, are not really they're handlers now because I've graduated, are from the Chittenden County area. I have made more trips to Burlington since I moved down here for my guys that are in crisis. This is not a perfect fix, ladies and gentlemen. This is a tool, and sometimes the invisible wounds are much greater than the tool, and they still end up in crisis. But I will tell you, every one of my students that ended up in the ER for suicidal thoughts, I got called. They never do it at 1 in the afternoon. It's like 2 in the morning, but that's okay, because I worked night shift for 18 years of my life. And they say, Michelle, I'm at the ER, I need you. I say, okay, It'll now be 3 hours, but I will be there. Hang up the phone and I'm off. I will tell you the power of what I'm producing in this program right now is so strong and is getting out there that one of my last clients that did this, I was allowed in the ER and his wife was not. To me, I was a little weirded by that, like, do you need to go see your husband? And she looked at me, she goes, you need to go help him. That's cool, okay? But it's also very, very big shoes I gotta continue to fill. So, my mom jokes at me because my phone is going 24 hours a day, but it's a bond that we have, and everyone here that spent a day in a uniform should understand we don't leave our brothers and sisters behind. So, I don't know if it rings at 2 in the afternoon or 2 in the morning, I'm going. So my truck is always full, and it's just the way it is. We have a family, we have a bond, and all 23 students are all in the same group now, and they all talk to each other, and that's powerful. So, graduate support. One of the other reasons I get to keep eyes on them is because they all come back to training. They help the new students. That is just better than ever, because not only do the students going through the program have a peer that they can really say, without me kind of being the instructor figure, hey, what the heck, did you have to take all these tests? Now class 1 and 2 is going to say, heck no, we didn't have to do that, I'm glad I went first. You know, class 5 and 6, now literally it's 3 tests, it's written essays, you know, because I'm stepping my game up every year. And I gotta do that. I gotta, you know, I started with 2 or 3 tasks. I'm up to 14 that I'm teaching these guys to do now. Do they all need them? No. But someday they may. So my students come back, and actually this is Dave Hearn. He's actually on our board of directors with his dog Gemma, and he's a graduate of class 3, and very successful. You know, he's got a job. He's very, very stable in his life at this point. One of my other students literally did not leave his house for 3 years before he came to my program, and he did a cross-country tour with his dog. You know, so, you know, it's hard without them sitting here, and hopefully we'll come back again with some teams and you can actually talk to them, but it's real. The power that you can tap into a dog, if you know how to do it, will really change your life. So we do that, they come in, they get to hang out with their buddies, and I get to see them, and that's the most important part. I get to make sure my graduates are still doing okay. Again, just to kind of reiterate, veterans and first responders, no cost to them. We try to get discounts at veterinary care, things like that, to help support our system. Hours fluctuates, but we average anywhere from probably 350 to 400 hours, 450 hours. Their family support is huge, and graduates come back and continue to help support the new students, which is really a win-win. This picture was actually, I was recognized in 2019 as one of Vermont's American Red Cross heroes, and my guys came and supported me, so that was pretty cool. So I think I did good because my team did not give me my little warning. I tend to talk a lot, so and I joke, if any of you caught, you know, I talked about my mom. Sadly, I'm still looking for a house. I sold my house in Chittenden County in 28 days. It was, you know, literally, and COVID hadn't started yet, so I didn't get to spike my price, you know. So it was just Chittenden County, and in 28 days, the moving truck and I was gone, and I'm still over a year looking for a place here. And actually, some of you I know, because I've been looking for houses, and we're looking for 10 plus acres to build a full-time training facility. And that's why I need to raise these funds, because although we're making it happen with what we have, and I'm temporarily renting a space on Gage Street right now, which was the old Anne-Marie's Pizza, we've made it look really good. We're doing some good work in there, but we need a full-time facility. The more people I can help, the better we're gonna have success rate, and nobody, hopefully, in the next couple of years will continue to hear 22 veterans a day commit suicide. We need to squash that. There is help out there. They just passed a new law 2 days ago, a Paws Act. I'm praying to God Vermont's going to see some of this, and I can use some of this money to help build this facility. We'll see. But if anybody knows 10 plus acres of land that's flat, okay, and a house would be nice on it, or a barn, so I can do this. If not, we'll get land and we'll just start from scratch. But again, I've seen some beautiful places, but, you know, old farmhouses, people with, you know, amputations and canes and wheelchairs who can't do it. So it's taken time. I'm working on my patient skills. My mom has not thrown me out yet because she's not a dog person, and I had 2 dogs in the house with me. So, but all my stuff is in storage. So if any of you guys know anything, filter it my way. You're always welcome to come by the facility. Again, I hope to come back again if you'll allow me, and we'll come with some of my teams, because I think there's a lot of value in you guys talking to the actual students that have gone through it, because you can actually physically see the guys that were on 20, 30 meds, but pills a day, alcoholics, drug addicts, deep depressions, and now they're able to walk into a building like this and talk to people they don't know. They're able to go down Church Street, which typically all my classes have to go down Church Street, because anybody that's been to Burlington knows there's a lot of weird people on Church Street. It's very fun to watch. But when you've been in Afghanistan and you have a titanium plate in your chest now because a bomb, an IED went off and blew part of you up, and I get you to walk down Church Street, that's pretty powerful. It's what we're getting these ladies and gentlemen to do. So all with the power of a dog. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
When you have to retire a dog, do you help them find a new?
Great question, yes. When they're in my program, again, they're in here for life. So when they retire a dog, hopefully we know this ahead of time because I've kept eyes on them, and we start searching for then a dog that will work with them. And right now I can only handle 6 students at a time because I'm just one person, and believe me, the dogs are the easy part. It's dealing with the 6 personalities that, you know, is the difficult part. But I will find them a dog and they will come in first. And that's how I've set it up. Not sure it's always fair for somebody who might have been trying to get in the program, but these guys have been vetted. They proved that they could do it. All my dogs right now have actually retired due to usually medical issues. And one just was old, but that was it. And then they come right back in. So sometimes they don't need it though. And right now I have 2 dogs out there that do not need the dog at this current moment, because they've been able to see what the world is like again and stand on their own 2 feet instead of having 4 more next to them. But when that changes, which it most likely will, especially, you know, you guys have heard in the news, this Afghanistan stuff, I'll be nice, that is going on right now is really derailing a lot of our veterans. So some of them might come back.
So when the dog retires, where do they find a different home?
Oh no, they all stay, just like our
stay.
police dogs.
Yeah.
I run this right the way our canine program was. When they retired, they're us, they're our pets, and we just bring another one in. You know, logistically, we have to, you know, they have to make sure that, you know, they can have another dog in the house. Some people have 3 dogs, because most people had a dog before we started this program. And like I said, the majority of my people that come in thinking they can use you know, Fluffy that was in their house for 6 years, I'm like, oh heck no, you know, this dog cannot perform the tasks that you need. So that, you know, usually occurs 2 or 3 dogs in a house. That's a lot. So, but I say once you have 2, anymore doesn't matter. Yes, sir.
Could you talk about the permits needed to find a location, what you're looking for?
Oh my gosh, I wish I was a zoning administrator guru, because I'm learning a lot about this, but it's a nightmare for what I'm trying to do, because my goal, and I have a picture on my cell phone of we hired an architect, Jet Metcalf, to design our building to go in front of one of these boards. But every town is different, and every zoning law is different. And if I get commercial property, I can build my 4,000 to 6,000 square foot facility, which is what we need, and the students will live on site. That's another big piece I forgot about. When they live on site, it's not going to be a year-long program. I understand that's a lot for people to endure, okay? It's a lot for me sometimes to endure. I need to push them out, and they need to get their wings, okay? And that's reality. I actually have one student right now that is so afraid to graduate from my program, it's derailing him. It's the first time in 6 years has this happened. So he is now an apprentice with me right now. We have graduated. He is my apprentice because he needs that routine, And in a matter of 2 weeks, he was derailing. So, commercial land, I can build my building, but my students can't live in the building. It's gonna be set up, they all have their own rooms, 6 rooms, a common area, they'll live there on site. Hopefully 4 to 5 months, we complete what we need to do, and then they'll go off on their own. If it's residential, I can have 500 students, but I can only have 30% of my house be the training facility. And unless I have like the Equinox, it's gonna be a really small facility, and I can't do that either. To do this properly, and a lot of people talk about, you know, agility, and you know, I come to your facility and I see these little ramps and these A-frames, and you know, you're just playing. I will tell you, when a dog accomplishes an obstacle in my program, whether they're scared and they have their handler next to them, when they complete that obstacle, these 2 individuals who now become a team glow. And the pride that they have in their dog is immense. So the agility is a very huge part of it. I need a big space because I need to get more equipment there. I need conference rooms. You know, when my guys break down, we have training sometimes where they come in, we have a round robin, we all talk about how's everybody doing, how was your week, is your dog okay, is anybody sick? Sometimes, like I said, these invisible balloons just kind of flash in and we can't control it. They start talking about something that happened. The tears start rolling, sometimes it's anger, and we don't train with dogs that day, you know, but we need a secure place where sometimes we just go and we talk privately, okay? I can't do that in this facility either. There's so many different things I can do. Like I said, I started with 4 or 5 different tasks, from, you know, if you drop your cell phone to pick it up, to opening up a handicap door, to lift assist and pocketing under chairs. I'm up to 14 different tasks, and I'm like, Joe, you know how big that building is? It's small. All I know is it's small. It's like if I took this room and cut it like 3/4. So I don't know about the zoning, except for no matter what I find, nothing is working yet. So I'm hoping somewhere I find the perfect place, because it's needed. And I will tell you that I won't skimp on my veterans. It's been estimated at $1.5 million to build this building, COVID prices. It will be a state-of-the-art building if I can make it happen financially, but it may happen in time now. You know, I'm not gonna, you know, we're not in the middle of Florida where people, all these golfers have millions of dollars and throw at Canine for Warriors. We're here in Vermont, and I understand that. But when our students gave everything for us and came back, they deserve a nice place to live. We're not gonna get mattresses for the beds off the street. We're gonna get somebody, hopefully a mattress company, that will donate. We're gonna get Whirlpool, hopefully, to donate us washers and dryers, and it will be a place where the community can come to our conference room. They'll be open, it will be open to the public. And more importantly, my veterans from work, no matter when they graduated, will always have a place there. They wanna come hang out for a weekend, they hang out for a weekend, it will never be a charge for them. And what do I get? I get to see them and see their dog. Win-win. So that's the best I can answer for zoning. I hate it. I just wanna build. I wanna build, I wanna get going. We need to get going because there's too many people out there that need my help, and I just can't do it. Because then I can get somebody to help me. Because it's hard to do it with one person. We don't do more than 6 police dogs at a time. That's a lot. It's a lot of people to deal with. Dogs are easy. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 things. I recently lost my dog, so I am slowly, you know, moving things around, and I have things that, like a big dog bag from LLB, and a crate, and leashes, and I'm just looking at it thinking, what do I do? Is that something that you look for donations?
And that's, I might have even forgot that. Did I mention that we're a 501c3 and we take donations, which is why I don't even have a desk. I keep stealing my mother's dressers and everything to put all my gear in. It is something we can donate, and I give it to my teams because, again, I'm not going to say everyone, but the majority of handlers that come through my program don't have the money, even if I did charge. So part of my cost is I give them beds. If they want kennels, I give them kennels. We pay for their dog food. So anything like that absolutely helps.
Maybe I can email you with sort of
Yes, ma'am.
And in the meantime, as you may know, I'm also in real estate, and I'm a firm believer in faith. And when the right place comes along, it's gonna fall in your lap.
I'm hoping, so, but yes, and, my contact information is on all these flyers that Mary sent out. We do have a P.O. box here in Bennington. I do not get mail at the facility because I really don't want to stay there forever. I really want to get moving before snow falls on someplace. And I'll tell you, I'm gonna have a state-of-the-art facility, but I don't have a student in my program right now that won't sleep on a cot to come to my program. So we're not that greedy. I just need a roof over our head so we don't freeze this winter. And that's what we need. Yes?
This is kind of a statement as much as a question, but I'll preface it by saying that I first heard about your program a number of years ago, did some graphic work for you and worked on a website with you, and that's how I learned about this program. And throughout the process, I've just always been inspired by the level of commitment that you show. I mean, clearly hearing you speak at these events, I also got to hear you at the Catamount Rotary, and it's clear that it comes out, exudes from every word that you say how much you care about this program and the participants and the dogs, and that pretty amazing connection that can happen between people and their dogs, and how important that can be for our veterans and first responders. Now I'm going to be a little selfish and say that when you first came back to our area from the Chittenden County area, I was really excited, in part because I said, would you consider having civilians not do a service dog program, but could you help civilians, people like me, who was never a veteran or a first responder, but I have a dog that I love, who's not the perfect dog, I wish it was, and happily you agreed. I think I was kind of your test
You were.
civilian. So
You and Molly rocked it.
Molly, who I loved, was not the ideal dog. I have learned so much because of you to be a better dog handler. And I, of course, understand, as probably many of you know, that it's not really the dogs that are most of the problem. As you, not
It's
even
us.
PTSD. It's me. It's us, the humans, that need the work. And you're so good at that. But I, in part, say that because by having civilians come to you and do this work, in effect, at least in a roundabout way, also helps you in your work doing this, because it does provide a revenue stream, and I know how generous you are, not just with your time, but with your personal funds. So having civilians come to you for
Yes.
their dog needs, I personally can highly recommend.
And what he's talking about is, I actually started kind of a spin-off private program called Awesome Paws. My niece actually named it. And that is paying the rent for this facility because, again, COVID hit, and for 6 years I've been saving up money. And one of the other things I didn't mention is, even though COVID hit, there are only 2 service dog organizations nationwide that stayed open that we're aware of: Canine for Warriors in Florida, and they sort of kind of shut down, and Vermont Paws and Boots. And that only happened because of Mary Morrissey fighting at the State House and getting the governor and the commissioners and everybody else she had to talk to say, we need this. And the caveat with that, we also had a student from New Hampshire. So I am reaching New York, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire. We even had somebody from Maine, they just haven't made it here yet. But again, without Mary's and her work up there, we would have shut down. And not only shut down and helped students that need it, I would have been paying on a building that sat empty. So I did start the civilian program to help keep the lights on in the physical building, but it's turned into not everybody is a veteran or first responder that has a disability. So I actually have one student in my program now under Awesome Paws that has severe PTSD, and we're training them through.
And just a final comment, you mentioned a couple of times how unhappy you are with your current facility, but it's actually amazing. What you have now, what you've done now, is pretty amazing and great for the people and the dogs that go through.
It is, and we need, we need a space that is easily accessible for people to get to and find us. We don't want to be anybody's billboard, but I really, Vermont per capita has the most deployed veterans during wartime. We also have the most fatality rate in wartime for our service members. I'm very proud to say I'm from Vermont because we are such a patriotic state. But I'm also going to be prouder when I have a building here that everyone in the nation is going to say, holy crap, you need to go to Vermont and see this amazing facility that they have. So I gotta be somewhere close so people see it. I can't be, 15 miles up in Danby on the top of a mountain. I'm gonna need a really big flagpole. So, rest assured that spreading the word and helping to raise funds with what your organization does, you will not be disappointed, because I'm not gonna cut corners. It just may take me a little longer because it's a lot of money to raise, but we deserve it, and the town is gonna be proud of the building, and the state is gonna be proud that they have this here. So, anything else? Did I hit everything? Well, thank you again for your time. If I'm in the facility, feel free to stop in, or we can even set up a time and do a tour of the facility. I say it takes 20 minutes, but it's like 2 minutes, but we have a west wing. That's what I deem my one hallway at West Wing, so. Thank you.